Before you start a budget, before you even pick an app or budget spreadsheet template, I need you to do these 5 things. Hey, what's going on? This is Maoli Vodi with Financially Present. If you're new here, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you're not new, welcome back. I know personally how hard it is to start a budget, and I've definitely started and stopped a bunch of times in my life. And a lot of the reasons why it didn't work is because I didn't start the right way. In this video, we'll go over 5 things you need to do to make sure that you start and finish strong. The first thing you need to do is tell somebody. Yes, you need to find someone who you trust, and I'm not saying you have to share all of the numbers or figures with them. They don't even need to know all the details. All you need to do is pull a friend aside or a spouse or a family member to say, hey, I'm planning on budgeting. And this does 2 things. So number 1, it helps with accountability. You now know someone else knows, or they could ask, how's the budget going for you? Or, hey, aren't you still budgeting? Because now they have an idea of some activity that you're doing and you're setting up some type of financial boundary, and it's going to command some level of respect or attention. And then the second thing it's going to do is going to give you some level of awareness, because now that you've voiced this to somebody, you realize that, hey, you need to be more aware and conscious of what you do and how it reflects on people's view of you if you're willing to commit to what you told them you would do. So the accountability and the awareness immediately increases if you tell somebody. You have to tell somebody if you're about to budget. The next thing you need to do is make a schedule. And now I don't need you to do something very complicated. You don't need to pick a day and then select it for the next 12 months. I don't want you to do that. I want you to start small. Just simply find a day that works for you. It could be a slow day. It could be, if you don't know, you can pick the day of the month where you're born and just go with that day. So it could be the 5th of the month. It could be 8th of the month. Regardless, just pick a day, and that is going to be your start day. And then set a reoccurring appointment for the next 3 months, essentially, or 2 months. So you want to do this just quarter by quarter. I don't want you to set up so many days throughout the year, and then for some reason you're not following up with these appointments, and then you just start to feel bad about yourself. No, just set for the next 3 appointments, 3 specific days, hopefully spaced evenly apart, so that you can get into the rhythm of checking, because you may come to find that you don't need to check as often. Maybe quarterly was fine, or maybe more frequently if you need a little more assistance. But you do want to make sure you select a date that works for you, and then make sure you also put a reminder at least the day before. So set a 24-hour reminder that, hey, tomorrow we're going to start budgeting, or tomorrow I need to look at my budget. And this is going to help set you up for some success. And that brings me to my 3rd tip, and that is export your transactions. And not only just export them, but print them out. So I want you to go log into your checking account and export or print the last 60 days of transactions, because the last 30 days, that's not enough. You need to see the last 2 months of your behavior financially. That way we can have a better idea of what's coming along next month. But I want you to do it in 2 ways: export it and print it out. Why? Print it out, for one, so that when it's time to do things on a computer, you don't have to worry about a second screen, or you can always make a mark or write things down on this sheet of paper. And I know it sounds old school, but trust me, it will work if you print it out. And then if you feel more comfortable with spreadsheets and filtering and setting and even doing pivot tables, that's something I'm kind of comfortable with. So I would do it that way as well. But you can do it that way too, so you can sort and quickly figure out, hey, this charge seems a little off. This one doesn't seem like it lines up with how I normally spend. But you can track that a little bit quickly depending on how well you are with Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets. The next thing you need to do is export your credit card statement. I don't want you to start with all of your credit cards. Who knows how many you have? Just start with the one that you use the most, so we can see what that behavior looks like. But don't just look at the last transactions. Go to the most recent monthly statement, so that print version, because what you'll see on there is the actual interest rate that they're charging you each month. And I want you to pay attention to that, because you have to know what it costs you. It's not enough to just look at the transactions and see if you're paying on time, but figure out what it costs you and why these balances or this interest is being charged. And it's Ultimately, because of how long you're borrowing, the average daily balance, and the interest rate they're charging, that directly contributes to how much you pay in interest on your credit card. So that's something we want to be aware of when we budget. And my fifth and final tip, before you start doing your budget, I want you to get your last tax return. And I know it sounds weird. Nobody else is going to tell you to do this, but you're here financially present. I want you to get your last tax return because it now gives you an idea of what you did last year. And then when you look at your budget, you'll see how the behaviors you have committed to all throughout the year, how it leads you into a tax return that you have. This allows you to even consider, hey, am I having enough withholdings? Maybe I'm claiming too much. I could be withholding too much. Am I getting enough from my monthly or biweekly paycheck to affect my tax situation on a more positive basis? Because if you look at your most recent tax statement, you'll understand what you received, if receiving anything back in a return, and you'll know how much you owe. And this will also factor into how you budget and how you manage your money, because the inflow and the outflow, that's the monthly, that's the day-to-day, but the annual tax returns, which are extremely important, we really only look at them once a year. And if you don't look at it more often, you could be doing yourself a disservice. Looking at your tax statement gives you the opportunity to take a 10,000-foot view of what you're doing every day in your budget and your spending and your earning. So it really gives you some better perspective so that you can do better going forward. Now that we've gone over our 5 tips, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and check out the next video because we're going to get right started with this budget spreadsheet. See you later.